Okay. What is happening, everyone? I will just try and get a stream happening on Rumbles. Basically, in the meantime, I did trim the beard because I honestly believe that Pulse Chain is closer than it was yesterday. No, but seriously, I think it is closer than, you know, maybe other people are thinking. Now, once I just connect to Rumble, now we have other noises going around my house. Oh my god, are you serious? Multiple deliveries, strange delivery trucks appearing. I have no idea what's going on. Alright, hang on. Bear with me, people. Oh my god, what's going on? Anyway. For some reason, Rumble doesn't want to work. Alright. Alright, we'll have to give it a skip for this one anyway. So, where are we at? Where are we at? Alright, here. Now, a lot of people would be covering, I guess, updates to Pulse Chain. As I said before, I believe that it is closer, maybe closer than we're anticipating. I'm not sure. I have seen some screenshots of basically some loading bars, and you know, once they hit 100%, assume the assumption is it will be complete. I think you've seen the screenshots on Twitter, you most probably have. Now, this stream isn't to do with that. Mainly, this stream is to bring attention to other things that may be happening in the legacy finance. Now, why do I bother about this? Because when legacy finance does their thing, it may present opportunities to make money outside of this, not really outside of the system, but not in the same way that legacy finance would want you to use their products. Now, why would that be? Well, we have seen some issues in the banking system recently. If we go back to 2008, 2009, like why was Bitcoin actually, why was it invented? You know, what was the message encoded on the first block? What was the article, you know? Now, we can go back even further because currently what we're seeing is, you know, maybe bank runs. Would you call them bank runs? We're seeing deposits up to 250,000 by FDI insurance. You know, it's okay. That money's okay. Now, if you have more than that, That was also, backed through some form of quantitative easing, through asset purchases or redemption certificates issued by relevant bodies. Now, you can look into that first. You can look into that further. But first, we've got this here. Back in 1907, there was a financial crisis. And the panic of 1907 was a financial crisis set off by a series of bad banking decisions and a frenzy of withdrawals caused by public distrust of the banking system. Now, it's currently 2023. What has changed? Dog's going nuts. It's been a crazy day today, honestly. Now, JP Morgan, then and other wealthy Wall Street bankers lent their own funds to save the country from severe financial crisis, right? Now, the next thing, what I'm hearing is, beyond the going back and reviewing John Pierpont Morgan's rescue plan devised during the panic of 1907, which is basically a playbook on what we're seeing in other bank bailouts or other whatever. It's a playbook, basically. Now, we're looking at what I'm hearing is First Republic bailout. Now, I hadn't followed it too closely, but apparently we might be hearing more about this later on in the coming weeks. Now, it's frustrating because since 1907, mind you, that's before the Federal Reserve even existed, we've still experienced economic issues where, bailouts are on the table. We're seeing currently, initially, what they said, funds up to 250k were not were okay, but anything over that wasn't. They came in and said, no, it's actually okay, we'll fix your books for you. Basically, you have quantitative easing taking place at the same time as raising rates, which is quantitative tightening, the burning of cash while they're raising interest rates to try and battle inflation. It's an interesting time we live in, because what else is taking place in this technologically advanced timeline that we're in now? What I mean by that is, look at the technology that's available to us now that wasn't available, say, 20, 30 years ago, or wasn't available 100 plus years ago. Most of us watching this content probably would be aware of cryptocurrency. And what is that noise? Hang on, people. I tell you, it's all happening today. Now, yeah, so economy, basically, we are seeing some balancing taking place, some very careful tightrope walking, I guess you could call it. I've heard basically keep an eye out for this First Republic Bank. There could be some more coverage of it in the coming weeks. Whatever that means, I'm not sure. Keeping in mind the playbook that was previously used, keeping in mind the current situation we're in with how far back you want to go. You want to go back to the FTX, the Celsius, you want to go back to the banks failing now, you want to go back to how the banks were crypto orientated banks. There's a lot to unpack. You could go far back to the reserves being set to zero. You could go far back to, well, the Federal Reserve's inception, but I think that's too much. what I did come across was this here. Federal Reserve System, docket number OP1670. Now, call me crazy, but if a central bank digital currency was to be rolled out, I always think, how would you roll this out? Would it be and I'm back. I'll try again. Now, this particular documentation here may provide some information where the system could be going. If you go through this document, you may read things that may be of concern to you. I'm not sure. Again, mainly US orientated, so if you're outside the US, it probably doesn't affect you as much. However, if you look at what took place in Canada, it could affect you. Now, I can't really provide a too long didn't read at the moment with this one, but if you have a look at the Federal Reserve now, basically there's a pilot program taking place, and there's a few people partaking in this pilot program. Now, the Federal Reserve updates FedNow services timing to mid-2023 marks beginning of full-scale pilot testing. That's interesting, given the timing. Now, we then have, if you go back to the FedNow 24/7 instant payment system, one could imagine how this all might work. So, if you're issuing savings accounts, checking accounts, and it's up to that $250,000 threshold, it might even be all the way up to the amounts covered under the more recent bailout, whereby they said, we'll purchase your assets and you won't have any debt. But then some of the banks sort of go under, and once they go under, the other bank comes along and purchases them, and it's a circle of life, I guess you'd call it. You have a payment flow, right? And you now have the FedNow service reserve banks partaking in it. So I imagine a central bank digital currency being told to me, if I was say in the US, one day, that you can exchange your cash, I guess, for your central bank digital currency. And I thought, but people just might not exchange it. People might just hold on to the cash. People might buy the assets, all that sort of stuff. Now, I guess that's still the case, but you do have to remember, or I like to think, that if you're going to try and roll out a central bank digital currency, most likely you're going to have a war in cash, whereby cash and a central bank digital currency most likely will not coexist. Because everything that a central bank digital currency entails is all about controlling you and understanding you, the product, the consumer, what it is you spend your money on. Now, if, for instance, you have a bank account and it's not currently a central bank digital currency, you would think you have the option or choice to move over to a central bank digital currency. It appears this may not be the case based on not so much the playbook, that's the bailout playbook, but that does play into the whole setup whereby rolling out something like a transactional account that is monitored 24/7, 365 and has control placed on it upon you. Because think about it, it might be harder if the economy is nice and healthy to roll this sort of thing out. Why? Why the need? In times of panic, we have seen decisions being rolled out quickly. They may not have been the most logical, but when fear kicks in, people can make worse decisions. Now, not touching on, I guess, the bailout, which could lead to further issues within the financial system, which could lead to further strains, which happens to be taking place around the timeline which the Fed now servicing is being tested, is being piloted up until mid-2023. I think there's different phases. I believe this might be phase 1, I'm not sure. But you can look that up. They have issued, as per docket number 1670, a system that could be, up and running 24/7, 365 real-time gross settlement service with integrated clearing functionality to support faster payment systems in the United States. The service would, support depository institutions, provide end-to-end and faster payments services, and would provide infrastructure to promote ubiquitous, safe, and efficient payment systems in the US. Now, this again is for your safety. Now, you could call me crazy loonbird here, and you could say, well, maybe, just maybe, built on the back of this new system, there will be controls in place whereby you could not do something, or you could do something, and you may or may not be put on a list, or you may or may not be flagged. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, you've heard this many times before. Imagine if you, as the product, as the consumer of a transactional account with your own money, mind you, held in a bank backed by the Federal Reserve, happens to have an account, and they switch over to the Fed Now system. Now, this requires real-time tracking of all of your money and all of your transactions. And if, for instance, you purchase some gasoline. Now, this sounds extreme, but this is the environment we're currently living in. Maybe you purchase gasoline, you purchase too much. Maybe you purchase too much red meat. Maybe you purchase undesirable investment products, whatever that may be. Maybe you buy some gold, all right? Or maybe you buy some precious metals. Maybe you buy some crypto. Maybe you buy some cars. Maybe you buy some supplements. Maybe you buy some ammunition. Every single transaction now that you engage with would be on a ledger. It would be the equivalent of, if you're familiar with cryptocurrency, an open public blockchain. Now, this open public blockchain, however, is not visible to outside, third parties, because it would be between you and your provider. And the provider has all the eyes. It can see everything. It can track and trace. It can monitor. Now, if you were then to purchase some promotional hats, shirts, anything like that, bumper stickers, and it did not, fit with the current political leader, political party, it did not fit with the current sitting government's idea of a normal citizen, then you may well be placed on a watch list. Your account may be flagged. Your account may be frozen. Now, that sounds like something that would come from a communist Chinese regime or communist party regime, right? Well, have a look at what has been evolving. We're seeing a monopoly, basically, oligopoly of banks. Arguably, it's not different banks per se, but the banking system itself is one giant, huge complex, industrial complex, one giant body, one giant entity. So you could say the banking cartel has a monopoly on banking and financial systems. Like, where else are you going to go to store your money? Where else are you going to go to get banking services? You have to go to a bank of some sort. Yes, you go offshore maybe, but it's still a part of the same financial system. Now, since 1907, it has been this way, arguably before. And we're now seeing ongoing bailouts up until 2023. We're seeing talks of, a new settlement system, a new way to provide transactions back and forth to clients, to businesses, to other banks. We're seeing the Fed now 24/7 installment payments website. Now, if you have a look who's taking part in this pilot program, it is a lot of large, very large institutions, whether they're banks or hedge funds or investment banks. Have a look. It basically shows you here a payment flow, sender, receiver, institution, depending on what you use. Now, these tentacles can reach far and wide. They can be not just, say, your relevant bank under the Federal Reserve System, keeping in mind that as a part of this new system, there would be reporting requirements and the ability to possibly freeze your accounts completely if you buy the wrong thing, to track and trace every single item you ever purchase, whenever you do it in real time. Not so different from a social credit score, which will do the same. I'm pretty sure you might have seen the episode of Black Mirror where you have a social credit score, and if you post the wrong thing online, your score goes down, affecting the ability for you to purchase or buy anything in the real world. Now, again, crazy conspiracy. At the point in time, it could be. But let's just imagine, right? Let's just imagine there's a system in place that does this and tracks and traces everything, or will be in place. Why would you then need to roll out a central bank digital currency where people may be hesitant to swap their existing dollars to, a digital format? People might say, well, I just want to keep my money under the bed. You can't force me. Okay. How about this scenario? You have any money, you get paid by any business, any job, any employment. The only way you're going to get paid is in this new, online digital dollars, which you most likely you are doing now. When was the last time you received a paycheck in cash? Very rarely compared to what it used to be, is my understanding. If you're a large business, you're a large firm, you're most likely not issuing payments to employees in actual cash, physical cash. Most likely you're not even issuing them with a check. But even if you were issuing it with a check, most people would take their check to the bank, deposit it, and then you would have your digital dollars, Yes, you can go to the ATM, pull it out, but then under this new system, what if it's rolled out without a choice? What if they just decide that those digital dollars in the bank are now a part of this new system, and this new system, as I said before, is a mass surveillance and control tool. So if you don't vote the right same way, if you don't vote the right same way, if you don't vote the right way, if you don't get relevant vaccinations, if you don't get required documentation for anything, this can affect your access to your money. Now, that is fucked. Like, that is beyond. There is no choice in that. You are subject to the central bank digital currency without even opting into it, because the system that you use, which is the banking system, basically they are opting into it, and for you to partake in the banking legacy financial system, well, you either can or you can't. And it's pretty difficult to just say open your own bank, especially in this environment, or the environment generally, when traditional banks are actually going bankrupt and having financial issues. So imagine someone saying, oh, I'm just going to make my own bank. It's very, very unlikely to happen. Now, if you have a look at what took place in Canada, in Ottawa, where the truckers were protesting peacefully, mind you, politically, to, allow them, I think it was to travel without the force of vaccination, because it was very hard for them to do so as a part of their job, to cross borders into the US, especially because, there was certain policies in place. Now, we could backtrack here. Just imagine if you had this digital currency in place with additional tracking, monitoring systems, software, whatever it will be, instead of just shutting down people's bank accounts through emergency acts, it would be easier to explain to them that you haven't received your vaccination and it is a requirement for your vaccination to travel interstate, internationally, across international borders. Therefore, if you do not comply, your account, because most likely they would have an account, will be frozen. Now, if you have, say, $5,000 in cash and you go to deposit that money into the bank, what good is that to you if your bank account is frozen? If you need to pay for something online that doesn't accept cash, what good is that $5,000 if nowhere accepts cash? This is the level of control that we will be entering into, I fear. Now, I guess you could go along with too long didn't read with the Emergencies Act. However, it's been broken down better, I think. I think if you have a look at this article here, most bank accounts frozen under the Emergency Acts are being released. So over time, it can be reversed. So the Emergency Acts funds, if your account was frozen, it sounds like they're being released. It should have never, I don't think it should have ever have occurred. Now, this required, though, the use of an Emergency Act. The people that were engaging with the financial legacy system were subject to the, how can I put it? They were using banks, and the banks can then comply with requirements from governments. Governments can then tell them that we want this person to have their account frozen. Government had to use an Emergency Act for this to take place. Now, under the new system, which would be a central bank digital currency equivalent of, the Emergency Acts, in essence, would be built into the digital dollar. Now, that sounds insane, but just have a think about it. These truckers peacefully protesting had their accounts frozen, right? It required an Emergency Act. It says here, even financial products related to them had been frozen. There was addresses related to crypto and exchanges and bank accounts. Like, the reach of this Emergency Act was far and wide. I believe it wasn't just if you're a Canadian citizen. It was if you were from outside of Canada and you donated money to them. Those accounts were frozen. Now, I'm still trying to look around. I can't verify that at the moment, but I have heard that being said. So if you were saying in the US, you donated money to them, maybe your account was frozen as well. But we'll have to see about that. What I did find was the Privacy Officer probes banks giving protesters info to relevant agencies under the Emergency Act. Now, my understanding is it seems like here it should conclude that there was no lawful basis for the declaration of a public order emergency. So, He also noted that the law enforcement intelligence office official saw the event as a national security threat. So no one saw it as a security threat, national security threat in Canada. And that the government reformulated the standards to establish the test for meeting the threshold, including economic harm as a basis for an emergency. So this is like when they say we're in a recession, but they've changed the definition of recession, so we're no longer in a recession. It's pretty messed up. Now, the government withheld evidence to the public inquiry required to determine whether the cabinet lacked a reasonable basis for concluding an emergency existed, he wrote. Again, you can go through and we can see the accounts being unfrozen, right? So that's good. I mean, it shouldn't have been frozen to start off with. But if we sit back and don't realize this is happening, there's a strong possibility that one day, for some reason, you go to use your bank account, wherever you are in the world, because this will most likely be rolled out, and for some reason you may find that your bank account doesn't work. You may find it's frozen. You may find you have to contact your bank and provide details as to why you purchased X, Y, and Z, or why you went here, or why your phone is in this location, or why you're using a VPN. Anything like this could trigger a flag and stop you from being able to access your own money. Because remember, your money is most of the time in a bank. If those banks change their policies and privacy, or change the entire backbone of it, overnight a switch will be flicked, and this switch will change your ability to access your money. This switch will change the ability of you to be able to buy whatever you want as you see fit. The tentacles, as I said, reach far and wide. It's not just banks. It's going to be anything connected to a bank. So if you had a PayPal account, I'm pretty sure the PayPal account would have been covered under this Canadian Emergency Act. And if you had sent money to truckers, accounts frozen, etc., etc. If you had like Google Pay service, if you had any of these accounts which are online and linked to a real world bank account, they would have fallen under, the freezing of the Emergencies Act. This is why I'm comparing this to the FedNow system. Potentially, you will see a system that's just switched on overnight, and you will lose the ability to spend your money freely. It is really a tyrannical government move. It's absolutely insane. Now, I'm not so sure if the idea of this is to completely destroy all innovation and destroy investors' confidence in the entire system, because it makes no sense to me if they're going to do this to target people who are wealthy, becoming wealthy, or pursuing investments. So if you were to be in you're trading basically, or you're investing in whatever asset, right? I don't think they're going to be wanting to shut down people making money off this. I just think it's more going to be targeted at your political decisions. So if you support the wrong party, if you don't get medical treatments and things like that, which is concerning. Yeah. I then could go on to say, I could then go on to say basically, if you're in assets like, property, precious metals, anything really, cryptocurrencies, collectible cars, collectible firearms, I don't know, collectible basketball cards. I don't think that they're going to be like, we're going to stop, your access to be able to sell your collectible basketball card and turn it into cash. They might ask you, where did this come from? Which is kind of annoying. But I don't think they're going to be trying to sort of stop all investing activities, because that's kind of, it sounds like what it is trying to do, but I don't think it is. I think it's more going to be a control mechanism to force individuals to act in a certain way. It's just very frustrating because how free are we really? You know, we're seeing what we're just seeing this talk of a central bank digital currency and no real explanation on how it would happen. We can think about it. We can, have thought experiments about it. But now we're seeing pilots, systems, pilot programs taking place. We're seeing the evolution of the Fed now, instant payments. We're seeing who's partaking in it. You can see where this is headed because if I can see it, many other people can probably see it. Now, for whatever reason, the mainstream media is not really covering this. Yeah, they covered the Emergency Act in Canada, how they rightfully so banished the evil protesters, the evil freedom protesters, the ability to purchase food or jumpers in a freezing cold blizzard or fuel to keep the heaters on. That was good. So you can see like a talking point there, which is kind of frustrating, but I mean, maybe they're trying to calm the entire nation, be like, oh no, everything's okay, we've got it under control, the noisy truckers will go away soon. And I mean, you can see why they do it. You can see why they try and control the masses through information leaking, through information, what would you call it? When you watch various TV shows, whether it's one form of media or another form of media, they always have, depending on the particular, I guess even down to the host or who writes the shows or who promotes the shows or who owns the shows, they'll have their own sort of skew on the current event taking place. Like you would watch, I guess, Russian propaganda news, Chinese propaganda news, North Korean propaganda news, Iranian propaganda news, and they'll be saying all sorts of shit, right? You could probably understand why they're saying that because they're trying to push their sort of talking point. But then you could watch, I guess, opposing views, and you can understand that too. Now, you could throw that then into the financial legacy system because, I mean, if you maybe have assholes in the legacy system, might be easier to weed them out, which makes sense. But then if it then becomes difficult for a normal law-abiding citizen to be able to go about their daily business, who may have an opinion one way or another about a political event or a campaign or a medical treatment, then that is when it sort of starts to infringe on people's ability to function as a free civilian. That's kind of messed up. That's what I don't like about it. Because you can see the positives, you see the negatives, but in the end, it's almost that in many cases, the government, maybe they mean well, I'm not sure, but they seem to have an ability to take away people's freedoms that's always for your own safety, which is very frustrating. So that's why I think my thing is if you can legally push back, peacefully push back where you can, where it's reasonable to do so, I think go at it. Like seriously, you have nothing to lose. How is sitting back and saying that I agree with a central bank digital currency or equivalent that has the ability to freeze your assets at will. Now, I don't think that's right at all. I think if it's proven that you're actually doing something wrong, maybe, that's reasonable. If it's proven that you're some asshole, maybe that's okay. But if you're just literally chilling and you, invest in an asset that just goes up, or you're an early investor in a company that goes up, or you're an early investor in you got inherited some precious metals that are now worth a lot more. Why should your life be more difficult? What have you done wrong? You've done nothing wrong. But the whole system appears to be targeting every single individual as if they've already done something wrong. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to, I don't want to say staff innovation. It makes no sense to treat everyone as an enemy of the state when they're not, in closing, we are seeing a push towards a control over everyday citizens who have done nothing wrong, and we are seeing the masses being herded into pens, and if and when this is rolled out, this will be the gate closing on us all, because freedoms will actually be lost. You will no longer be able to do anything the government doesn't like, no matter how small. Do you know how crazy it was when COVID was happening? People, like, you couldn't say certain things online during that period without potentially having, like, police task force rock up and arrest you because you said the wrong keywords. It was absolutely insane. We literally saw governments, foreign governments to me, roll out emergencies acts, questionably, mind you, and gave them almighty powers to freeze assets, whether that be like any asset, cash, digital cash, crypto. I'm pretty sure if you like this sounds stupid, but I'm pretty sure if you like had a bar of gold, and you just walked into Canada and you gave someone the gave someone the gold bar, and then it was proven that you gave them the gold bar, then they would be like, all right, banned. Like, what the fuck? How is this? How does Canada? I don't understand how Canada considers themselves a free and open country. Like, after experiencing that, I would want to get out of Canada. Yeah, mind you, here in Australia we had some crazy lockdowns and shit, but wasn't as bad as the media represented. I don't think it was, but there were some things that I didn't encounter that may have been quarantine camps and the like. But yeah, it wasn't. I honestly didn't see the stuff that they were reporting on the media. But I did feel the pressure not to make any content, because I honestly felt if I said the wrong thing online at the wrong point in time, then you would risk bad things happening to you because of your own political free speech, which we have here in Australia. So I'm allowed to say politically, without, I guess, inciting violence and shit like that. Politically, I can say whatever the fuck I want. But what if it gets to the point, this is what frustrates me, what if it gets to the point where I say something wrong online, I post the wrong thing, I like the wrong tweet, I like the wrong political party? What if that somehow flags me as some person who needs to have their bank account frozen? What if I need to pay a bill? What if I have to, buy some food and shit like that? What if I'm starving and it's like, no, you posted the wrong thing, so sorry you don't get food today. You posted the wrong thing, so sorry you can't go to the shops and buy food. You posted the wrong thing, sorry you can't buy fuel. Oh, you can drive around, but that's fine. But by the way, you can't buy any fuel. That's kind of where it's getting to, and I think that's the concern, and I think that needs to be addressed by whoever's in charge. Why? Why do we need this control system placed upon us? If we're no threat to anyone, we're just chilling, doing nothing. But then every transaction we do needs to be analyzed, and you then like the wrong political campaign, and somehow you're now unwanted in the financial legacy system, but not knowing damn well that there's no other alternative. That's a real possibility, and that doesn't seem right. That sort of leads you down the path like a tyrannical communist regime, which I don't think free governments around the world want to become. I could be wrong. Prove me wrong, governments around the world. But I don't think a great country like Australia, like Canada, like the US, where else? New Zealand, UK, countries like that. I don't, like Japan, I don't think countries like that want to be going down that road intentionally. It's almost as if the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand. They got no idea what's going on. Like, how can the Prime Minister of Canada think that was based what he did? He's like, yeah, I'm top G. I fucking like stopped everyone from getting food and shit because they wanted freedom. It's like, hang on, they were peacefully protesting. They don't have the right to do that. That was basically their free speech, their freedom of movement, and their free speech right there. And you shit all over it and said, "Fuck you! I'm taking your money. Fuck you! You can't have any food. Fuck you and your family. Anyone that supports you." That's kind of what they said. Like, if you think about it. So hang on, whoa, government man, don't you work for us? Don't we vote you in? And then if we want something a certain way, we can vote for it to happen. So where this is the next thing. So where is the politicians pushing back on this whole Fed now system or the Federal Reserve or central bank digital I can't speak, digital currencies? Yeah, I've seen a bill. Okay, you want to ban central bank digital currencies? Yeah, that's cool. Well, they'll just call it something else. They'll just like roll it out and be like, "This isn't a central bank digital currency. This is a digital currency that has a lot of caveats built into it and is programmable, and we can basically tell you when and where you can and can't go and how you spend your money in it, basically." Now, that's basic. That is the fears I have of a central bank digital currency, and it's not because I'm doing anything wrong or plan on doing anything wrong. It's because I don't think that as a free individual, I should be told by the government what I can and can't do, especially if it's not wrong. Like, that's like pre-crime. It's like, oh, you could want to travel somewhere. It's like, oh, but we don't like you traveling because of the carbon emission that you might output, and you haven't got your carbon quotas up, so you can't travel. That sounds insane, but you see the whole is it green movement, and it's like, oh, you have to make sure that will you donate to the planting the trees? It's like you give them the money. So where the fuck did that go? You just put in some fund and said, oh, we're sponsoring trees. You're not actually planting trees. Like, it's just getting weird. And you see countries like China, and they're shit scared of their own people because of how many of them there are, and they realize that maybe they might realize that, I think they saw with the COVID lockdowns, they might realize that, our people get pissed and they'll start protesting, they won't listen to us anymore. So that's why we need to keep them happy and docile, and that's why we have to give them, this social credit score, because we can take away all their privileges. Because if they protest, okay, they get their little hurrah, they protest, but later on, we're going to make their life very difficult. Apparently, they'll go around door knocking, capturing people who did protest, beating the snot out of them in front of their family and kids. That is not a country I would want to go and visit. That is not a country I would want to live in, knowing that. Now, imagine you have a central bank digital currency or something similar. Yeah. You can't, yes, and imagine you say the wrong word. You say like, sorry, I just checked the chat. Imagine you say the wrong word. It's like, okay, you just said the wrong word and you have an account linked to YouTube, which potentially is monetized. Even if it's not monetized, it's linked to Google. Google services is linked to Google Pay. And that you've been verified on there, and your bank account has been linked to it because you've purchased an app before. You tick the box which agreed to terms and services and conditions. You now fall under this new digital payment system, which has controls in place which forbids you from saying words that we don't like, being the government. Now, you're like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything. Well, that's cool. So hang on, wait. What if you honestly thought that you just wanted to wait until there was more medical data out there proving to me, without a doubt, that there is no side effects for certain medical treatments. Now, that could fall under you disagree with the government, and therefore, you know, you're bad, and therefore we take away all your money or access to money until you what? How do you get it back? Like, what, you go through a course, you go through a concentration camp, and they go, okay, now you've been whatever the word might be that they would choose to say, like over something so small. Like that, that sounds like something that would happen in China. It's like, okay, you said you didn't like the political party, you have to go to the what do they call them? The camps, you know, the Uyghurs are in, and we're going to change, you know, with the Uyghurs, we're just going to change your national, you know, how you've been, your nationality, your identity, your culture. We're going to erase that, and we're going to make sure that you don't go against the grain. And until you do, then you don't get treated like a normal citizen. You don't get to travel. You don't get to. It's like, hang on, wait. That shit sounds like what they're trying to roll out. You know, what if the what if the law changes, right? And they say, this is especially in the US. What if they change the law? What if they say, we've decided, even though it says in your constitution you have the right to do X, Y, Z, we've decided to change it, right? And you can no longer purchase anything that could do harm to anyone else, right? So they decide that the book that teaches you how to do armed combat, something like jiu-jitsu or something that could break someone else's neck, what if they deem that as a dangerous item? And they say you cannot ever. And so therefore we've decided to ban books, because someone could write something in a book that teaches you how to do something. So we've decided to ban our books. It's like, hang on, wait, what? And it's like, I don't get the vote on that shit. Then they say, oh, okay, so we've decided to ban books, and we checked your records, right? And the other day you bought a book. You also bought a newspaper, a magazine. You went to the shops, you got a receipt. You can read that, you know. We've decided that you're no longer desirable in our financial legacy system, so you can't get any money. It's like, okay, that sounds absolutely insane, but what if something like that took place? What can you actually do once that system is rolled out? It's very hard, as I've said, to roll that back. It's almost impossible. Like, yeah, what would you do? I guess you would just hope that you have some other investments, and they tell you, oh, you can't access this account, but you know, you can still trade in your fucking derivatives and options. Maybe, I don't know. You can still play with your gold. You can still play with your crypto and shit. Like, that's what it feels like it's gonna be, because this system that they're trying to roll out, people might just fucking abandon it. Be like, well, we're not playing in your little sandbox anymore. We've decided to build our own sandbox over here. It's much better. You know, like maybe another bank will come along, another entirely new bank will be like, all right, we've decided this is bullshit, and this was just a test, and you'll fucking fail because you're all a bunch of tyrannical assholes, communist assholes. Fuck you. So you can come over here and get freedom and liberty, and we won't fucking, you know, we won't just, you know, impose the boot on your neck for no reason. But yeah, I think that's about my round over there. People, whoever's watching, what's up in chat? Yeah, shit. Oh, it's frustrating though. It really is. I mean, it's just seeing this and seeing how quickly this could be rolled out. Is very concerning. I don't understand what they're thinking. Like, they really think this is going to encourage people to, like, what, to toe the line? It's like it's like they're using 1984 as a playbook. Like, it really feels like that. And I don't think the answer is politicians, because, like I said, politicians are supposed to work for us, and I can't see politicians coming out basically saying, "Oh, we're gonna like ban the fucking banks. We're gonna ban cryptocurrency. We're gonna ban." No, man, they're gonna be the ones like lapping this up, rolling it out in stealth mode. I don't know. Do not know. One thing I know, in closing, that will probably save me from this bullshit is cryptocurrency. Not just any cryptocurrency though, because you're gonna make sure you hold and own your cryptocurrency. What does that mean? Look it up. Not your keys, not your coins, apparently. And if you do not understand that, you really need to research cryptocurrency a lot more. Because what if, what if you had cryptocurrency in an exchange and the exchange went bankrupt on you and then you could not get your cryptocurrency? That would suck, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. There's things out there that are solutions to this, which are probably a lot better than that. Now, if you have, if you happen to have a bank, that is telling you that if the bank goes bankrupt, they're not going to pay your money, maybe you should pull your money out too, Not to encourage a bank run here, but I'm pointing out shit like this could be coming your way, And I honestly don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to solve it, but knowing that this could be in the pipeline, maybe you want to prepare for something like that particular scenario.